figure out what people are actually searching for, and then get in front of those people with, hey, I've got your answer right here. And you can trust me because I took the time to build this elaborate set. I've got some good lighting. I look okay on camera. So this guy seems like he knows what he's talking about. The majority of the time from the initial phone call to the time that they get their keys is usually less than 60 days. The video testimonial is one of the most effective ways, I think, to sell yourself. You can go into a vacant room, take a picture and be like, hey, I need you to stage this with mid-century modern furniture. And then all of a sudden your ugly empty house becomes now a mid-century modern stage with furniture.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Marketing Guides for Small Business podcast. I'm Ian Cancel from Outsource Marketing in Toronto, Canada, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Steck from Tylerica Marketing Systems in Austin, Texas, Ken Tucker and Paul Barthel from Changescape Web, now in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and their satellite office near St. Louis. So today we're talking with Skip Adams, a realtor in Albuquerque who has effectively used YouTube, a TV show, and a podcast as great sources of lead generation. So, hey, Skip, welcome to the Marketing Guides for Small Business podcast. We're happy you're here with us today.
Well, I'm excited to just tune in and kind of absorb some knowledge from the experts here. I'm still learning as I go, but this is a great opportunity. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah. And I think we'll have some great discussion today. So let me start off the question, Skip. So can you tell us a bit about your journey into real estate and what inspired you to build a brand like Sold by Skip?
So real estate's always been just kind of one of those things that in my family, my dad worked in real estate as a developer, and I got into the real estate in 2005. I was a professional baseball player, and in the off seasons, I got my real estate license, just kind of as a plan B if baseball didn't work out. And surprise, surprise. It didn't work out. There's not a lot of money for short white guys in professional sports, as it turns out. But the real estate journey it's been good for me in the fact that, I'm dually licensed in New Mexico and in California, and had a chance to move to California to work in real estate during the recession. And it was kind of booming in the sense that there was REO, like foreclosed properties, short sales. And so I was able to take advantage of that and learn a whole bunch about how team structures work, real estate transactions, and then bring a couple of those business models back to Albuquerque and start a business here in Albuquerque as well. So, that's kind of the path that I took in real estate. But I realized that early on is that, the niches are in the riches. So we had to develop, our own niche market here in Albuquerque. And so we decided to specialize in relocation. Relocation meaning, helping people from all over the world discover, our little town of Albuquerque, New Mexico, because, we're the last affordable city in the Southwest. And so I figured if we could find a way to capitalize on buyers moving to town who are moving here for industry like Sandia Labs or Kirtland Air Force Base, some of the main drivers that bring business to town. If I can get in front of those people, that would kind of be a cool niche to have. And so that's where I was able to connect with Ken and landed me here today.
Very cool. Expand on that question just a little bit. Do you have any influences that, as you started building your brand and you said one of the phrases that we hear a lot, the riches are in the niches. Mm-hmm. Are there any marketing influences, any resources that you used along the way as you were getting going?
You have to try all of them until you find something that works for you, whether it's Facebook marketing or Google ads, anything like that. And so I was lucky enough to figure out the YouTube game early on. And I think, running a team, I had some good influences in California as far as how to structure a team and put that together. But when it comes to the business side of real estate, it's not just selling houses, right? You have to become, as you guys know, working in business, you have to be an expert in the marketing part of it, the advertising part of it. You got to figure out payroll, taxes, business licenses, and like, holy shit, I just wanted to sell houses. So, YouTube was something that I got into, during the pandemic pretty heavily and figured out, cold calling, stuff like that is not fun. I mean, I'm sure in business, you guys have all had to deal with that, where you pick up a phone and try and sell a business on, signing up for marketing packages. And it's not fun. You get 100 no's and one yes, and then, try and build your life around that. But with video, what I found is it's evergreen, right? You can craft a video that answers a lot of questions and put that video out there. And then essentially that video becomes your 24/7 cold calling, right? It reaches the buyers that are looking for the service that you want. And I think that was very instrumental in building a brand and just building a team that, functions using YouTube.
Yeah. So I think that was pretty much, you just answered the second main question I wanted to ask, which is, first off, give your YouTube channel a shout out, and we'll let you do that again at the end for sure. But it's all about Albuquerque. And it's a great resource about Albuquerque. You said during the pandemic, you really got into it. Yeah, it looks like you've been at it for about 4 years. So kudos to you for that. And then I think, you talked a little bit about trying the different channels, and then a little more specifically, why YouTube, and specifically how has that had an impact on your business would be the kind of the follow-on question of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first of all, you don't just jump onto YouTube. You have to figure out lighting. You have to figure out cameras, microphones. You have to figure out this elaborate set that I have behind me. You have to become an expert in not only just shooting video, talking on video, trying to remain interesting on video, but then you have to figure out how to produce it, how to edit it, now you have to chop it up into, Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts. And then you have to do, we got to do some keywords. And then we got to post at the right time and figure out all the metrics that go along with each video. So it's a complete learning process along the way. And I think you guys know that as a business owner or somebody that specializes in a certain profession or niche, you have to kind of take the steps to figure out the keywords that are going to drive people to your niche. And so it's ever evolving, and having conversations with Ken. I mean, you guys seem to be the experts as far as crafting keywords and putting systems in place that keep the lights on and keeps the phone ringing. So I see it from both angles, and it's not just the finished product. It's like, how in the hell did you get to the finished product? And there's a lot to do behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Skip, how do you come up with content ideas for your YouTube channel? And second question is, are you tracking? I'm sure you are. What types of videos perform best in terms of generating not only leads but also building trust?
Well, everything's reverse engineered, right? I could sit here and make 10 videos that the viewers, if they don't want to see it, if that's not what they're looking for, then you're wasting your time and energy. So let's talk about keywords. Let's talk about keywords everywhere. How do we figure out what buyers or what your audience is looking for? And then you craft a video around that. And what I mean is, you use a service like Keywords Everywhere or Answer the Internet, I think is another good one. You just type in, Google, give me a Google search for Albuquerque, and what are people really asking about Albuquerque? And I think, funny enough, if you Google Albuquerque, it's just like all of a sudden you get, is Albuquerque dangerous? And that's the first search that always comes up. Is Albuquerque dangerous? Am I going to get murdered if I move there? And so then you just craft a video about, let's talk about it. There are some places you shouldn't go in Albuquerque after dark. I'm going to show you which areas to go, which areas to, that will fit what you're looking for. So I think being able to craft, keywords and figure out what people are actually searching for, and then get in front of those people with, hey, I've got your answer right here. And you can trust me because I took the time to build this elaborate set. I've got some good lighting. I look okay on camera. So this guy seems like he knows what he's talking about. So it's a whole formula that goes into it.
Yeah. Yeah. You got me. I mean, that's how I got connected with Skip. I mean, I was, looking at moving to Albuquerque very seriously. And because you have content about relocating to Albuquerque and buying a home here, that's exactly how we got connected and how you helped me get into the home that I'm in now. So thanks.
Well, video is a fun space because it's something I enjoy. It's what I studied in college, was broadcast journalism. And the idea was always just like to get in front of the camera and just be a knucklehead and have fun with it. And it definitely beats cold calling every day and trying to knock on doors to generate business. So, that being said, once the client becomes, fan of the channel, then they get stuck in the ecosystem, and then they get fed more videos. And it's once people know, like, and trust you through video, the close of the sale becomes a lot easier. And I think it's more fun to have inbound phone calls than those outbound cold calls. And I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. You also have a resource that you've created, about relocating to Albuquerque. So, Ian, Jeff, Paul, and I we all have spent a lot of time in what's called the duct tape marketing system. We're all duct tape consultants at one point in time or the other. And so we talk about know, like, and trust, but then the next step is try, and then buy, then repeat and refer. And so it's beyond the normal sales funnel. Most people stop at the know, like, trust, and then the buy stage. And so, your relocation guide is that try offer, because then people get to download that. Your videos are a try offer because they get to feel like they know you and are interacting with you, even though it's not a two-way conversation. The way you present yourself on video very much comes across as people feel like they already know you before they meet you. And so that's why video is so powerful, I think. And so I love the fact that you've been able to kind of put those resources in place, maybe even without really thinking about conceptually that framework that I just described.
Yeah, there's different levels to it, right? It's not just a video, but it's like, what are you giving them for free? I think the more that you can offer for free, and like you said, allow people to test drive you or test drive the system before they have to make a commitment, before the sales call actually happens, I think it just puts you in a better position. And I'm just excited to learn more from you guys about how do you increase the funnel, and how do you rinse and repeat the funnel and keep the business coming back for a second term? So
yeah. Cool. Well, that's where the repeat and refer comes in. So I know as soon as I was in my home and I had closed, I got emails from you, asking me to review you, which again we love as marketers because reviews are so huge. They're social proof. They're SEO content that helps you show up on Google searches, especially in Google Maps results. It's just such a critical aspect, and so the next thing that, if you haven't already done so, is, putting together some kind of a strategy to get people to refer you, or to, to consider buying from you again, which I know you have plans in place. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about doing, the client retention, right? Getting them in the door, getting that first sale is one thing, but you don't want to spike the football until you've had your fifth sale with with this family down the road. And the referral portion of it is huge, because not only if you can, bring in the videos and bring in the business through video, but then retain those clients and turn them into a source of referrals, it's going to 10x the business. And so, we have systems in place that have a long-term, contact with past clients. Then the idea is to throw, the networking event, the friends and family event every year or so, just so that, guess what you guys all have in common? All of my past clients, you're all from all over the world. You all moved here knowing absolutely nobody. So let me provide you with a little networking circle, and you guys can all trade notes on, which place to go in town, and, who's got a babysitter and all that stuff. So that's kind of the idea, is to just have an ecosystem here around our business, and not just at the close of escrow. Nice to meet you, Ken. See you later. More so, here's a follow-up with a list of contractors if you need, new paint and carpet down the road. How can I help, every aspect of your home ownership, not just getting in the house?
Ultimately, it comes down to conversion. So what are some strategies that you found effective for turning your viewers or YouTube viewers into actual clients?
There's a couple of lead captures that we use. Okay. So on our YouTube videos, in the comments, specifically, if I'm showing a video about the west side of town and here's some fun things to do in the west side of town, we'll showcase a couple of properties. In the comments section, pinned to the top of the comment section, is a link that says, hey, if you're interested in homes on the west side, click this link, and it takes them to the website. Website then brings up a squeeze page that's all the homes available for $350,000 on the west side of town. Here's what they look like. After about the third or fourth click, then it comes up and says, hey, why don't you just enter your info, and then you get entered into the automatic drip system. That's one. So that's a good way to at least connect and get buyer contact information. The next is we give away a free comprehensive relocation guide. If you're watching the video, hey, if you're liking this video, I put together a free comprehensive relocation guide for you. Click on it, and then it automatically captures, where do you want me to email you the relocation guide? So it captures phone number, name, and email there as well. So that's the second way to do it. And then the third is just inbound calls directly. And you'd be surprised how many times my phone rings and it's like, hey, Skip, hey, my name is Ken, saw you online. I got to be there in 1 week. I start work on Tuesday. Can you find me a house for this price? So those are the three main ways that we get the leads that come in. And the majority of the time, from the initial phone call to the time that they get their keys is usually less than 60 days.
That's true with you, right, Ken?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. And Skip, you were talking about testimonials, reviews. You were talking about video creation. Do you in any way right now leverage, like for instance, for Ken, or a recent client, do you sit down with them and do any kind of interviewing or ask them to do, a testimonial in video at all at this point?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. That's one of the, sorry, my phone was ringing. That was one of the first strategies I employed, is that when people would come to town and we would do the first initial tour of Albuquerque and we look at some homes, I would sit them down and I go, okay, listen, here it is. I got the camera on you. Just tell me, what was your experience like coming from, North Dakota to Albuquerque? What did you think? And then I just let them talk. And after I did about 10 of those, I cut it all up into, a highlight reel of, hey, I'm, so-and-so, I'm moving from so-and-so, and this was my experience, and holy cow. And by the end of it, they're like, you know what, this was a great experience. And so I was able to turn that into a shareable reel. And the funny part is I'm not even in the video. So people see this video and they just know that Sold by Skip in Albuquerque is a great experience. And it's not me selling anything. It was just the clients giving their honest opinion on what it was like spending a couple hours with me. And, some of them didn't even buy with me. They were just, in town kicking tires or whatever it was, but I was able to repurpose that multiple times. In fact, it's pinned as the number one video on our Instagram channel. So if you go to the channel, here's 15 strangers talking about me and you don't even see me in the video. So yeah, I see definitely the video testimonial is one of the most effective ways, I think, to sell yourself without actually being pushy or salesy.
Yeah. And do you have any tips for other small business owners that might be out there watching this or listening to us? Because I know there always seems to be this giant hurdle or wall that people have to break through in order to start just doing that process. But I know once you start the process, it gets much easier. But from your perspective, are there any tips to help small business owners break through that barrier and just start doing those?
Being on camera is a challenge, because the first videos you shoot are going to look terrible. There's no lighting, there's no microphone. And if you can just get past the first few videos, and then all of a sudden you'll see that it's, most of the wall that you have is all in your head, because when you post content and people react to it, more than likely it's going to be positive feedback. And then all of a sudden you get that dopamine drip of, oh, people like me. Hey, I'm likable. I can do this. And then you just churn out a few more, and then you'll see it evolve over time into better production, better quality, and better message that you're getting across. Less stuttering, more clear and concise points that generally drive that know, like, and trust. And so I think, if you can just get past yourself and just open the camera. And there's various apps out there, even AI apps that have, the teleprompter. So you can just, if you don't know what to say or you're freezing, you can just type in a script and just read it and then just post it. And you'd be surprised. Most people will go, oh, well, hey, at least he took the time to do it. I'll give him a like. Forget it.
Yeah. And on another note, you have a TV show and a podcast. I believe it's called UABQ. Is that right?
UABQ, the show. Yeah, we just hit our 7th season.
Oh. Congratulations.
And as you guys know, man, running a show, running a podcast it's you have to have people that are on board with you. Especially, you guys have 4 people hosting a show. So I know you guys have it on your calendar every week, no matter what you're doing. we're all going to stop and put our lives on hold, and we're going to sit here and stare at each other and talk shop for, an hour until we get the content that we need. And same thing, we have every Wednesday, we have the studio time, and we sit down and we film our TV show, and we bring on guests to talk about their business. Very similar format to you guys have, and just use it for keywords and marketing and networking. So I'm just curious, how's your experience been, producing and putting together a podcast? I know you guys are on a share schedule where you guys each get a chance to capitalize on the SEO and the keywords and everything. But, what are some of the hurdles that you guys had to overcome starting?
Really, I think the biggest thing is the promotion of the content. For us, we're all in the business of creating content. We've been doing it for a very long time. So adding a podcast as a channel wasn't that hard, but where we've always really struggled is how do we take the content that we've created and push it out to the world, through social channels or through our newsletters and things like that. So we're still working on that. That's always going to be a work in progress. We decided to do this as a group podcast because we could divide and conquer, so typically whoever leads the episode puts together the work to create the questions, to do the research on our guest or our topic, to kind of pre-generate some talking points, building. And now we've incorporated into that responsibility using AI predominantly, add to that to create social media posts, to create email snippets to send out, to people in our newsletter or whatnot. And so we already had people in place that could handle the sound quality and the video editing, but we're really in the process, and partly inspired by you, honestly, to up our game in terms of the video of what we're doing.
Nice. So talk more about the AI aspect of it. You guys obviously turn everything into a transcript, but what kind of AI are you using, and what does the AI do for you?
Yeah, so we've got some bots that have been written or we've developed where we'll take, like, one of the things that I love to do is, and Jeff, I think you may have done this. We had Guy Kawasaki on last week, and we just took information from his body of work, uploaded it into Chat GPT, and said, "Here's our guest. Create 10 or 12 questions about this related to these topics," and then we edit that and modify that. But that gets us. That does a lot of the research for us, right, Jeff? Is that what you did, or something similar?
Yeah, definitely use AI as a research tool. It's changing and progressing so fast. Skip, if you haven't looked at like the deep research aspects of ChatGPT, and then of course there's tons and tons of tools out there. There's some really cool stuff. But then also in the production, we'll use AI to carve. Once we have an hour long podcast, we can transcribe it. We can carve it up into shorts. We can get social media posts out of it. We can get blog posts out of it. It's just a wealth of different ways you can leverage the content, and AI really helps to speed that up.
What programs are you using? Something like Opus Clip for clipping up the show, or?
Yeah, I got one called Minvo. Opus Clips is really good.
Yeah, Minvo, Opus Clips are pretty similar. Canva's, not Canva, Descript is great. Canva's obviously.
Descript is good for cleaning things up. Yep.
One of the things I've been playing with, Skip, is taking our long form videos and converting them into long form blog posts, from just purely for providing helpful information, but also from an SEO standpoint, it's very powerful as well, because it's just a wealth of content and it's fresh content. And so one of the tools I've been playing with is something called Video to Blog, which gets you, again, like most AI tools, don't get you to a finished product, but they get you 80 to 90% done. So that's been a really great tool that I've been using.
Video to Blog. That's a good one. I wrote that down because, I think Ken and I were chatting about strategy, because the video portion is fun. And this is like the fun part, is wrapping out with you guys and sharing tips and tricks. But then the homework starts. Now you got to take this monstrosity and turn it into something that's, number one, interesting for the masses, but also cut out the good parts and make sure to share those. So, but I think you get so many keywords, and the whole thing becomes more searchable if you can actually rip the words out of it and turn it into a blog post.
Yeah.
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 There's
and
a
one
lot
of the
of
things we decided to do, again, to share kind of responsibilities, is whoever leads the episode gets the rights to put the transcript and the blog on their website. So we kind of rotate. Ian this week will be able to take the content, use it for SEO content on his website. Last week, Jeff led the conversation with Guy Kawasaki, so he could take that, put that on his website for SEO purposes. We still get to share the social media. We still get to, the benefit of rubbing shoulders with folks like you or Guy Kawasaki, and putting that out there through our socials. But, and the other thing too is don't underestimate custom GPTs, and most people, I think, when they're starting to use AI and they go to a tool like ChatGPT, they ask it one question. It's called Chat GPT for a reason. It's a conversation. And so, when you continue to have the conversation, you can refine the output, you can specify and give it direction to say, here's my custom audience. Now write these questions in a way that's designed for listeners who are small business owners to be really interested in what we're talking about. And then, oh, by the way, now that you've given me these great questions, give me 10 social media posts that I can use to promote the upcoming episode. And you have that conversation inside a custom GPT that's allowed you to train it, and it can be very powerful.
I think that AI and ChatGPT it's a phenomenal resource. And the more you learn about it, the more you realize, holy cow, I don't know anything about this. Something that we've been using recently is the tasks. You can customize it to do tasks for you, wherein, search for Albuquerque real estate information. And then I want you to find, and give me 3 current events. So that way, when I wake up on Wednesday and we have our TV show, I've got a list of current events available to talk about on the show, and the research is already done. I mean, you obviously go through and tighten it up a little bit for the show, but I used to wake up before the show and I'd get up at 6 and then have this whole checklist of like searching for mortgage rates. Then I'd have to go search to put together the show content. But now it's like I wake up and here's a rough outline of, you can start the show in 10 minutes. You're here, you're ready to rock. So It saved a lot of time that way.
Yeah.
The other feature that I really enjoy is the conversation feature, wherein you can go voice and just have a full voice conversation with it for role playing, which in my industry is huge because, if you're role playing for listing agreements or listing presentations, stuff like that, I can put in all the information that I know about the client, like, hey, Ken's moving to town, loves computers and SEO stuff. What are some talking points that I can go through? And so you can have a full conversation with AI Ken before he even gets to town, and then just makes it easier. So it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
One of the ways I used ChatGPT this was probably a few months ago, where, our challenge is like, how do you keep fresh ideas and content and topics coming? We've been doing this for years now. And of course, there's lots of buzz around AI, and we've done several podcasts on AI. But one of the things that kind of came to mind one day was, well, how does AI actually perceive our questions as a whole community of people? Like what are all the questions that people are asking AI, like the top questions? And then I asked ChatGPT, what are the questions you think we should be asking, just out of curiosity? And so I thought that was a really fascinating thing. And just to your point about conversation, it's not a person, but you can kind of take a journey down the road because it's got so much data in the back end that you can start to harvest that in new ways that you'd never thought possible. So,
yeah. Also coming up with series ideas. So we've got an upcoming episode talking about, okay, so what are people really searching these days? We hear all this stuff about the impact of AI and how it's changing search behavior and even the tools that people are using. Let's talk about that. And so that's going to be, the topic, but that was the seed idea. And then I asked ChatGPT, build this out into a series that we could talk about over the course of 3 or 4 episodes. And it created all that content as well as the supporting marketing material. And again, you don't ever want to just take this and just throw it out there. It needs to be vetted by humans and make sure that it makes sense. But it's such a productivity gain if you train it and work with it and use it in a conversational mode.
I think just like with any system that you have for your business, it's the money the time save and the money it returns to you is based on how much preparation you put into it up front and learning the actual system, training that system, and actually implementing the shortcuts. And then all of a sudden, once you get through all that, the pain, the growing pain, all of a sudden it's like I was saying, you wake up on Wednesday morning and your show is written for you. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, so it was worth it to put in all that time and effort to train the GPT to what I need. And now all of a sudden it's paying off. So just getting through that learning curve is always tough.
I'll share with you a document I created. I did deep research to do market analysis and demographic understanding of Albuquerque since I'm new here and I'm trying to, build business here. I wanted to understand, as an AI marketing agency, how can I, what do I need to know about the marketplace and how can I best position myself as an AI marketing agency to go after small business, and support small businesses in the Albuquerque community. And it generated like a 15-page document that's fantastic. And it's researched. It's got sources of where it pulled the data from. It's, and it's using the deep research feature, which is a relatively new feature.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And sometimes it comes back with so many ideas that I get overwhelmed and I go, I don't have enough time to implement all of these. And sometimes you just get that paralysis because you have like, these are all good ideas. I don't know. I'll come back to it later.
Yeah.
If we had a question coming up a little later, but we've jumped into it now. So I'm going to go ahead and ask him, kind of flip the order up a little, Ken. You mentioned using AI in a training role and being able to use the conversational aspects of it, which I think is great. I mean, everybody can do that. Are there any other aspects of AI in real estate marketing that you see coming or that you've already been taking advantage of? And then flip it around on you too and ask what your favorite tools are.
So images, a lot of our business is taking pictures of houses. One thing I've implemented is now that you can edit these pictures. So if you have a picture of the outside and it's nice, you go, well, can you edit this picture to make it seem like it was taken, at sunset? So you get those nice shadows and it'll AI turn the lights on in the picture and dim everything and just give the house a warmer feel. Additionally, you can go into a vacant room, take a picture and be like, AI, I need you to stage this with mid-century modern furniture. And then all of a sudden your ugly empty house becomes now a mid-century modern stage with furniture. And so that's been very good because previously you would have to pay, $350 to an AI, stager to do that for you. But now you can just upload a photo and say, this is what I'm looking for. And so that's been great to cut down time and money. But the cool thing that they're doing now is picture to video. So essentially you would upload the pictures of your house, all the interior, and then you create the AI that says, can you turn these pictures into a 3D video, a 3D video of the house? And it'll go, in the style of, typical realtor home tour. And it'll turn those pictures into a 3D model of the house, stitch them all together so you can actually take a tour of the house in 3D and in drone shots. So you could take a picture of the outside of the house and be like, I need a drone shot, and it'll create a drone shot in 3D. It's wild, the stuff that they're doing now. So those are some of the cool features that it really saving time and money in our industry. And again, just ever evolving and getting tighter and faster.
Do you use it for customer research at all?
I do on listing appointments. Yeah. Try and figure out what type of brain am I pitching to? Is it statistical? Is it Ken who's got spreadsheets on spreadsheets? Or is it, artistic who's just, I want the big picture and whatever, no big deal. Call me when it closes type of thing. Yeah. But it's really fun for role playing on that voice feature, because you could say, hey, I'm trying out this new listing presentation. I want you to listen to me and give some feedback. And it'll say, hey, great. You got your point across. You were talking really fast. You sounded nervous. Try incorporating these words. And it's a woman's voice talking back to you in a full conversation mode. There's no lag, no delay. And so that has been really, really nice because, role playing is it's one of the things you have to have somebody that you trust to role play with, who's not going to laugh at you for being a total douchebag. And then someone who's going to give you honest feedback based off of the tone of your voice and the speed of your tone and all that stuff. So it's really cool, man. It's fun.
Yeah. I think with the role playing also, a lot of people are, you said you want that trusted person that you can bounce off. At the same time, it kind of seems weird, like to be practicing selling on your wife, right? So having an AI that isn't just, it's providing feedback, but it's not forming opinions.
Yeah. Well, and there are no BS too. You can, you can tell it, just show me where my weaknesses are and be like, hey man, you sounded effeminate on that one. Let's get some more bass in your voice. Let's get it right. Whereas your wife would be like, yeah, it sounds great. I don't know. It all sounds the same to me. I got kids to feed. What do you want?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been trying to pivot towards on my website, and I think this is something that's right up your alley, is keywords on the website, because I can do the video stuff and I've optimized YouTube and our TV show, and I think that portion is fun. But when it comes to the website, for me at least, writing a blog or trying to optimize a blog is just not a shiny, fun task that I want to take on. And so, Ken, speaking with you, it's so important to have your website optimized for keywords. And I think that's one of the areas of my business I definitely struggle in and would definitely could use some help.
Yeah. I think that's really a problem that's inherent in the real estate industry in particular, because, most realtors wind up having 3 or 4 websites. They have one through the brokerage that they may work through. They have one for themselves. They may have bought one on a domain, and it that waters down everything. And and then, it's like, oh, well, I need to buy this billboard and I need to do this. And so it's the combination of multiple websites and the lack of overall marketing strategy that's really a challenge. You've got the strategy dialed in, who your ideal customers are. So yeah, it's just really, the next step would be to just put a system in place to create the content and build out the SEO structure and based on semantically similar keywords and, a hub page kind of a structure where there's a lot of supporting content to really help, and that's going to be around. But the good news is there are easy ways to make that happen today. I mean, there are a whole host of AI content generation tools and AI analysis tools that can rapidly help you identify opportunities, challenges that you face, what competitors are doing really well, maybe even looking at competitors in different markets. So if you found somebody that specialized in relocation to Phoenix, for example, what are they doing? Why are they successful? How are they going about trying to get their website to rank? AI can help you understand all of that so that you can deploy that locally on your website, but for your keywords and speaking to your ideal customers.
Yeah, I think we call that R&D, rip off and duplicate, right?
Yeah. But
more competitive analysis.
There's nothing wrong with that. Right. I mean, you're crazy if you're not taking advantage of publicly available information. And I know a lot of people freak out, because it's like, I don't want to put that information on my website because my competitors will steal it from me. And it's like, well, here's a news flash. If you don't have it on your website, nobody is ever going to find you. So you're kind of defeating yourself from the get-go. So, you don't completely rip off and duplicate, but you learn, and you take the best practices that maybe one website does, you take the other, you use the innovation and the ideas and the strategy work that you've built, that you've put together, and it's a unique product.
What does it look like to bring in a team or an assistant that takes care of that? Because learning YouTube and learning keywords and then doing all the video stuff is a full-time thing. So to take a step back and go, okay, I want to bring in or I want to pivot and also incorporate blog writing and keywords on my website. Become a webmaster. So at what point do you guys see in your business where a business owner goes, finally, I just need to offload this off of my plate and have the expert step in and do it? I mean, at what point do you just go, I have to get it done. I did a half-assed job of it. And you recognize that there are people that are suited to do this.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. One is, are you spending time that trying to learn to do something that is taking away from the things that you're the best and the strongest at?
Yeah.
For you, it's easily, you should be in front of camera. You should be in front of talking to people on a very regular basis. You shouldn't be typing up blog posts or guiding AI to help you craft a set of blog posts or things like that. So you gotta, I mean, part of it is it's a luxury, right? I mean, you've got to get your business to a certain point sometimes before you can afford to take on support and offload that work. But then the other thing is just, I think really it's a matter of just recognizing that there are things that people do that are going to be better than you, and be prepared to outsource when and as you need to. How you vet people on how they do that, it can be a definite challenge. There are a lot of shysters out there. There are a lot of people who promise all kinds of crazy things in terms of SEO. So that's probably the most difficult thing, I think, for small business owners, is how do they vet the companies that they want to work with. And that's why we in part put together this podcast, is we love to share those ideas and thoughts with people and guide businesses to make better decisions about marketing. So
yeah, and I think time is money. And if you have the money, I would rather trade the money for the time to learn how to become an expert in what you guys do. Sometimes
right.
In all aspects of business, it's whether it's accounting or anything else, it's just like, I don't know, here, you figure it out. Here's a check, just get it done type of
Right,
thing.
right. I mean, you've got to look at the return on investment. I mean, you've got to see, am I making this investment? Is it going to bring money back into, or does it just take stress off my plate? I mean, if it's a necessary evil, like doing social media is kind of a necessary evil for a lot of businesses, because you just have to kind of do it to look legitimate anymore, even though it's not the source of lead generation that it used to be, and probably won't be for most businesses in the foreseeable future. But it needs to be done. So just offload that stress, realize that it's an activity, not a profit making venture, or in some cases, you making the investment to generate a higher return on investment is, normally where most people are looking. So.
And Skip, just to add to that, I think you'd be surprised at, how a team could come alongside you, because you are a content creator and you create great content. That content can then be repurposed in ways that you might not even have imagined, in ways and expertise that may be outside of the scope of what you're able to do, and a lot easier for you. So you might be surprised at how inexpensive that investment can be as well, depending on, are you dipping your toe in, or do you want to go full barrel in order to, really get a competitive advantage in the marketplace?
Yeah. You're coming from a position of strength because you've already got a 4-year history of a lot of video content. So there's a lot that's already there that's completely repurposable into blog form. And so then it's just a matter of, how do you structure and interconnect the blogs and the blog structure and the topical structure that you build out your SEO strategy, so that when people are doing a search for, what do I need to know before I relocate to Albuquerque, and you're starting to show up for searches like that. So under doing the keyword research, figuring out what those phrases are that people are already searching for, and then just making sure you have content that is supporting each other and lifting your overall website up, so that you're findable whenever people are doing those.
What so in your business, take me through it. So you essentially would look at a small business owner like me, look at my website, and then do you have like a software system that would evaluate my strength and keywords, my searchability, and then make recommendations on where my weaknesses are?
Yeah. So, I mean, SEO is really a multifaceted kind of thing. So you've got technical SEO. So things like how fast does your website load? Do you publish a site map? Do you have Google Tag Manager and things like that all added to your website? Are you using too many script codes, on your website to slow down performance? So there's the technical analysis. There's the keyword research and topical content analysis. There's you have to. I mean, a lot of people, they write content and they think they're doing a good job, but it's not structured properly. So structuring each page, what we call on-page optimization. So all of that has to be looked at and analyzed, which can include not only your title structure, your H tags, your header 1, header 2, things like that. But do you literally have enough words on the page for the search engines to say, this is what that page is all about? That's
is there like a computer program that you would just run my website through and it would just give you a spreadsheet like, this page sucks, this one's good. Here's how to optimize that.
Lots of tools,
but they're not quite that easy to use, Skip.
Yeah,
it's not quite that easy, but we usually do a combination of 2 or 3 tools because some of the tools give you kind of false positive information, and so I like to try to run it through a couple of different tools to just really kind of validate what the information is telling me. And then there are tools that will allow you to analyze the competition, see what they're doing, see where their strengths are. And it doesn't have to be a competitor in market, right? I mean, again, if you wanted to set up, if you knew of another relocation specialist handling another market, and you knew that they were doing really well from an SEO perspective or pretty well, then I would definitely, that would be part of the analysis that I would look at. What are they doing to be successful? Is it a comparable market? If they're doing it in a town that's 50,000, that's not equivalent to Albuquerque probably.
Right.
But maybe they're still doing, but maybe you can still learn some things that they're doing that are successful that you could take and deploy on your website. So content ideas can be generated, fixing the low-hanging fruit. There are a lot of mistakes that people make on their website. Every picture that's on your website should have what's called an alt tag. That's what tells the search engines what the picture is. My opinion is when Google crawls your website and it sees those low-hanging fruit issues that haven't been fixed and resolved, it gives Google a reason to not trust your website and not think that you're paying all the attention that you should. And so you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So that's like an easy fix, but it's not sufficient to help you rank. But it can be something that helps you overcome not ranking, if that makes sense. I mean, because it's just silly little errors that are giving the search engines a reason to not trust your website.
Well, it's like when you're showing a house and all of a sudden there's there could be a funny smell in one room and right away you're like, I turned off this house, this website sucks, I'm out. This is not
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah.
Okay.
And then you obviously you've got to look at conversion optimization. So is your website structured so that people want to navigate through it? Are they finding a good positive user experience? Are they sticking around on their site, navigating through other pieces of content? What's great about what you've done with your YouTube channel is you've got that natural flow of how people could flow through your website, but it's on YouTube. So my advice to you is take what you've already built with YouTube, and that's probably a pretty good guide to help you put together the structure of the content that should be on your website.
That makes plenty of sense. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if YouTube is what owned by Google, that's probably in a pretty similar layout to what you should have on your website.
Yeah,
second
absolutely.
largest search engine. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, hey guys, I want to be mindful of our time, but I want to give everyone a chance to kind of go through and maybe ask one more question or make a statement, or if you got something burning on your mind, get it out of there. So why don't we start with you, Jeff?
I was going to say, I'm going to defer to Paul. I think Paul's up.
Okay.
So I've got a couple questions in already. So go ahead, Paul.
Okay.
Hello, Paul.
Yeah. Sorry.
I think we put Paul to sleep.
No, I'm just looking at something.
He was reprogramming the internet.
He was hacking my website.
Yeah.
So I guess, and maybe you talked about a little bit, or when you started on this whole journey, what are some of the biggest challenges you face when trying to market yourself online?
Becoming an expert in everything. There's so many different websites, whether it's Opus Clip or Descript or Video to Blog or ChatGPT. Now, each one of them offers a little bit of a feature, but you have to become an expert in each of those to understand how to optimize what they're offering for what you're trying to do. And I think that was always a challenge, is you try and chase the next shiny object that's going to help your business. And I think when I finally just decided to pick a niche and go after video, which I love, relocation, which is a great niche to be in, and then really dial in a strategy and consistency, that's what got me out of the funk of just trying to grab everything. And I just went after one thing. And that really made all the difference as far as growing and scaling and becoming profitable. Because like I said, you just get lost in chasing that shiny object, whether this week I'm going to do Facebook ads, and then you know what, I'm going to do a blog this week. And all of a sudden it's all just trash in the middle of blowing in the wind. So if you can just find a path that works for you, that you're maybe passionate about, then go for it. That's the only way you're going to grow or succeed.
Quick question on that vein. So a big part of real estate is marketing. You're marketing your listings, right? Of course, you're doing all the hard part of writing contracts and making sure it's good for everybody. But if you take out the marketing of your listings, you look at just marketing yourself, your business. How would you say you divide your time percentage-wise between marketing yourself, your business, and everything else you do, including marketing?
I like to do, I put the majority of the time into what I enjoy doing, which is shooting the video, being a goofball on camera. And then I have, assistants, virtual assistants that take care of the busy work for me. And then when it comes to marketing the property itself, there's systems like Walled Garden, where you can just, upload the pictures, give a quick little description, and then it goes out and it buys all the Facebook ad, YouTube ads, whatever you need it to buy that week. And then again, it becomes its own lead capture system that kind of funnels the leads back to our sales team. So for me, the fun part is just doing the video and making sure that is at least staying consistent, because that's what makes the phone rings. Mm-hmm. And then, the marketing stuff, you try and have those automated systems in place to at least keep your face out there on all the other channels as well.
I guess the real question I was trying to ask is, let's take a typical week. What percentage of your time do you spend on marketing your business versus all the other stuff working in the business? How much do you spend on it?
It's so important, and you guys probably know this, it's so important to time block and really put together, on Tuesdays from 3 to 4, I'm shooting video, I'm doing research over here, and then I have to handle all my transactional stuff in the meantime as well. Unfortunately, in real estate, it's such a fluid industry that all of a sudden Ken calls, "Hey, I'll be in town today. Can you set up a home tour?" It's like, well, shit, I was just, all right, throw the schedule out the window. I got to do this. So, ask me this week versus next week, it's going to be completely different. And I think that the team leaders in the industry are the people that actually have the time to time block and delegate. Whereas, where I'm at in my business, I don't have that luxury. So yeah, I'm blowing in the wind, baby. But ideally, I'd spend the most time on doing the video and stuff like that.
When you decided to niche and focus on relocation, did you look to see what other agents that are captured in a particular brokerage, what they do? Because, it's like I can call up a friend of mine, in the community I lived in. It's like, hey, I want to move to Albuquerque. Can you hook me up with an agent? And they're like, oh yeah, I've got a relocation expert, in that market. obviously my experience going that route versus, when I saw the content that you were creating and I saw how different that was, it led me to go with you because I just felt like I was working with an order taker as opposed to a concierge service. Did you do research, or were you just, is this just the way that you like to operate your business, or some of both, to kind of specialize in that relocation?
Well, specializing in relocation was something that came to me during the pandemic when it was the Great Migration and people were shooting out everywhere. I noticed that it's so hard when you live in a community. For instance, I could ask any of you, how many real estate agents do you know? And the answer is I know 10 of them. And guess what? So does everybody else. But if you're moving to Albuquerque, you don't know any real estate agents. So if I can figure out what people are doing to get in front of the people that are moving here that don't know anybody, it really cuts out a lot of the noise and puts you in a better position. And so what I did was I went around to just researching and figuring out what's working in other cities, what are agents doing to bring people to their city. And so again, R&D, rip off and duplicate a lot of bigger markets that had many agents that were established and trying to use this type of model. And then researched Albuquerque and realized that, holy shit, there's really nobody doing this in Albuquerque. So let's get out in front of it and let's use some of the things that are working in bigger markets to get the name out here in Albuquerque. Because Albuquerque, typically we have a net population, right? Meaning the same amount of people leave each year as move here each year. So nobody really focused on doing relocation because it's not a ton of people moving to Albuquerque every year. But if you can get in front of the people that are, then that's enough business to keep the lights on and maybe get you a vacation every couple of years.
Yeah. And that still just blows me away that it's in that population. Anybody who's ever been here, I can't believe that you wouldn't want to live here. It's just, and the fact that it's just, year on year, it's like, it's basically the same size, because of the equilibrium of people moving in and moving out. It's just crazy.
Well, watch Skip's videos, then you'll want to move there.
Yeah, that's the idea, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Any other thoughts, guys? We've covered a lot today.
So one thing that we haven't really talked about, I don't think enough, is the power of reviews. One of the things that blew me away when we talked to Guy Kawasaki last week is he said the one piece of marketing advice that he would give to a business would be to get yourself reviewed on Google and Yelp. And he mentioned those two particular platforms. Obviously, Skip, I know you have a robust program in place to go get reviews, but can you talk about how you think that doing reviews has really helped you?
Exponentially, and especially I targeted Google reviews specifically. There's a million different review sites out there, from Zillow to Realtor. And it's one of those things where you got to pick one. And I think it's more important to have maybe 100 reviews on Google versus, 6 reviews on Zillow, 6 on Realtor, and 3 on Yelp. And I would rather just have them all in one big basket that's spreading out a bunch of SEO and really showing that, holy cow, 100 people like this guy has got to be worth something versus, maybe 2 or 3 on a 100 different other websites. So I put all my eggs and my energy into the Google system just because I use Google Workspace, I'm Google Calendar, Google everything. And so I want to be omnipresent there in Google, whether it's YouTube ads, YouTube video, TV show, blog post, whatever it is. I want everything to be kind of Google centric because I feel like, and you guys will obviously know that search is evolving and maybe kind of going away from the basic Google search, but at least in the Google atmosphere, I want to be as present as possible. And so we have a system in place where, once we close, once we do, the gift basket, once, the client is happy, then we present them with the opportunity to share their experience. I typically don't like to ask for reviews. Nobody wants to ask, hey man, can I have a review? I like to present it as, hey, share your experience, man. That was a great time. We got a great fucking house for you, man. Tell us, let everybody know, what was your experience like? And I think that kind of puts the consumer in a position where, like, you know, yeah, it was cool. I don't mind. Here's 5 stars and a thumbs up at least.
Yeah, cool.
Fantastic. Well, hey, Skip, how can listeners or viewers find you online? What are the different properties? I see your hashtag above you, but tell us a few ways that people can reach out to you or at least find some of the resources you have.
Always check me out on YouTube. I mean, that's my home. So YouTube would be all about Albuquerque, and UABQ, the show, now in our 7th season, coming up on our 100th episode. You're going to want to stay tuned to see who our special guest is for the 100th episode. And then obviously on Instagram, we have shorter clips of all the YouTube content on our Instagram, Sold by Skip. And again, I think we're the only company in New Mexico that has a hashtag in the actual business name. The guy that was setting us up was like, I don't think you can use hashtags. And I was like, we're using a hashtag. Get it done. So a hashtag, Sold by Skip.
It's a character. It's an ASCII character. So why not? That's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks so much for being with us today, Skip. And thank you, guides, for your great questions and involvement. And for our listeners and viewers, if you found this helpful, share it with your friends, family, pets, realtors, you name it, share it with them. And of course, if you have a topic that you want us to cover, reach out to us, drop us a line, and we would be happy to cover that. And until next week, folks, keep calm and market on.